Hello, and welcome to Toledo Aquaponics. Today on Let's Talk Aquaponics, we're going to talk all about light. Before we get too far, we need to talk about what exactly do plants need. The biggest system in plants that uses light is chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is the pigment in your leaves that a plant uses to absorb the radiation from the sun in order to make its food. Chlorophyll is broken up into two main categories, chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. However, they don't actually need the entire light spectrum. Light itself is a spectrum. It is a rainbow. If you've ever looked up on a rainy day and you've seen those rainbows of colors, all those colors make up white light. Well, chlorophyll actually only absorbs light in the violet to blue range and the red range. Everything in between, your yellows, your greens, your oranges even, aren't actually used at all by chlorophyll. So one of the biggest benefits with LEDs is we can actually specifically build LEDs just to give light exactly in the wavelengths that chlorophyll can absorb, but nowhere it doesn't. That's one of the biggest benefits of LEDs over all other lights. The other issue that we run into is how do we measure this? Your standard issue light meter or lux meter that you can get for $15 on Amazon measures actually what the human eye is responsive to. So your human eye sees yellows and greens a lot better than any other wavelength of light. But the plants need the blue and purple and the red. Well, that creates a problem because how do we measure that accurately? If I take a really, really bright light that's somewhere in the yellow spectrum and take a really, really bright purple light and I put them under a lux meter, they don't give the same reading, even if they're the exact same intensity. So we had to come up with a new way to measure them, and we came up with a PAR meter. It stands for photosynthetically available radiation. And this allows us to read the entire spectrum, all the way from violet all the way through red, to be able to give us the total amount of radiation available that the plants can then absorb and use to grow. So in the case of most flowering plants, they want things a little bit more in the violet to blue range to be able to, in the more vegetative plants, want more of the violet to blue range. So your lettuces, your kale, they want more of a cool blue or a cool white light. Whereas your flowering plants want something closer to the red range. Your tomatoes, your carrots, your peas, anything that really bears any sort of fruit, your peppers, want more of a warm white light. We measure light in a couple of different ways, but one of the most common ways is we measure it in Kelvin. So if you ever walked into like a hardware store and you picked up a light bulb, it'll say like 6,500 Kelvin or 6,000 Kelvin or like 3,000 Kelvin or 2,000 Kelvin. That measures the temperature of the light. Your 6,000 and 6,500 Kelvin lights are more your cool light or your daylight bulbs. Those are more your white to like blue light. And that works really well for vegetative plants. Whereas your lower end, your 2,700, 2,000, 3,000 Kelvin light bulbs are more of your warm light. That's your more yellowish or redder light. So a lot of your older houses that have incandescent bulbs have more of a yellow light to them. Whereas the new LED bulbs, a lot of them people use daylight bulbs. They're a lot more white. They're a lot more truer white or even sometimes blue. That's the biggest way to do that. Now there are plenty of guides up online how to actually look at that. But for the most part, when we're talking plants, you want something in the 6,500 Kelvin range or something down all the way down into the 2,700 or lower if possible. That applies to most lights except for LEDs. So the fluorescent lights like the ones above me are 6,500 Kelvin T8 fluorescent tubes. These will be really good for vegetative growth, but not so much for your flowering plants. Whereas the LEDs that I have are built more for your flowering plants. So I have a set of grow LEDs that are mostly in the red spectrum, which will help me offset some of the light of this one, of my fluorescent lights, to be able to grow more of your fruiting plants. So the peppers, tomatoes, things like that. The other benefit is with LED systems is I can fine-tune those LEDs to specifically what I need. So I can build a good all-around LED system that is got only the wavelengths of light specifically for chlorophyll that it needs. So I can have a blue-violet light for my vegetative growth, and then more of a red light when I'm actually ready for my flowering, and to help trigger those plants to flower. Which is why a lot of your LED grow rooms have that weird purplish pink color to the lights. That's because they're hitting it with both the blue, violet, and the red at the same time. If you turn that off, you'll get just more of a violet or a purple. This works really, really well for systems because it allows you to fine-tune and not waste electricity. especially with LED systems, I can get a 300 watt LED system that's just as powerful as a 1,000 watt double-ended sodium system. However, the double-ended sodium systems sometimes are still brighter. So it's kind of hard to compare apples to apples. That's one of the things that we're still working on. The LED systems are showing a lot of promise and a lot of power, and that is actually eventually what I will be using with this system. I have a bunch of LED lights that are coming that will be used primarily to do this, but I will also be testing your fluorescent systems. Most likely I will probably also get a halogen system up in here, as well as I will try a double-ended sodium system if I have the money. The other thing that I'm going to look at is how efficiently do plants grow under these different types of lights. So I'm going to do my best to try to isolate my grow beds if possible, so that I'm only using one light per grow bed. But ultimately in the end, I'm fairly certain I'm going to end up with LEDs, just because I should be able to utilize them in a lot more efficient way, so that instead of having a 4,000 watt lighting system, I have something closer to the 1,200 watt range. So that is my goal for this system, is to be able to make the system as efficient as possible, but still also generate enough heat that it's able to survive my winter months. Because like I said before, the overall goal of my system is to be able to build something robust enough to be able to withstand my winters. And though I will be using aquarium heaters or sump tank heaters to be able to keep my fish tank warm, I still am going to have to deal with my ambient air temperature. So I still need to use powerful enough lights to heat this area, which my garage is not the biggest garage in the world, but it is still a 2-car garage, and it is uninsulated. So I am going to have to be able to generate enough heat through both my lighting, which will probably give me the most efficient way to generate my heat, because with the aquarium heater, I'm just generating heat for heat's sake. With lighting, I'll be able to generate heat via the lights. So I'm both producing the light energy my plants need to grow, as well as heating the surrounding area. However, in the wintertime, I may have to run these lights year-round at 24/7. That will probably end up being my goal. At least for an indoor like warehouse scenario, you would have to run the lights for the most part all day. Or at the very least, you would have to do it for like 12 hours a day, or something else depending on what type of plants you're growing. And that's another thing you need to consider. Are you growing full sun or partial sun plants? Some plants aren't going to be able to tolerate being under a light the entire day. You're going to kill them. You're going to wilt them. So that's also another kind of consideration you need to look into, is what kind of plants do you want to grow? If you need to grow plants that are more shaded, you're going to have to probably find a way to isolate those a little bit better. The other thing that you can do is you can use the grow lights in combination with a outside like greenhouse, where you can have a greenhouse to use the sun's light throughout the day, and then kick the lights on at night to be able to heat it even better. With a highly efficient greenhouse design, you may also be able to build a system that is able to survive the winter out here by using the lights as a secondary heat source at night when the sun goes down and is no longer able to heat the greenhouse itself. This covers a lot of the main points about light that we need to go over. I will go over more of these in depth. I will be doing different videos based off of PAR versus Lux and testing out different types of LED light systems. Everything from small scale systems that you can use in your house to larger scale commercial grade systems that are used for more of your commercial applications, as well as for larger grows for your indoor growers. Thank you.